Having learned the different parts of cerebrum and the functional areas, we will now learn the white matter of the cerebrum. The white matter of the cerebrum is basically a compact mass of the vast number of nerve fibers and associated neuroglia. It lies deep to this cerebral cortex and forms large volume of each cerebral hemisphere. The fibers of white matter connect various parts of cerebral cortex with each other as well as cerebral cortex to the other parts of the central nervous system. So, depending upon the types of connection they provide, they are classified into three types: association fibers, projection fibers, and commissural fibers. In this diagram, these are two cerebral hemispheres. This is subcortical area, which includes corpus striatum as well as brainstem, and below there will be spinal cord. The association fibers interconnect different regions in same cerebral hemisphere. Commissural fiber interconnect identical or corresponding areas in both the cerebral hemisphere, and projection fibers connect cerebral cortex to the subcortical areas like corpus striatum, thalamus, brainstem, and spinal cord. In this session, we will mainly discuss association fibers and commissural fibers. As we have already discussed, association fibers interconnect different regions of cerebral cortex in same cerebral hemisphere. So that's why they are also known as intrahemispheric fibers. They are basically of two types: short association fibers and long association fibers. Short association fibers interconnect adjacent gyri by hooking around the intervening sulcus. That's why they are also known as arcuate fibers. Long association fibers interconnect widely separated gyri, that is, gyri of different lobes of cerebral hemisphere. The long association fibers are grouped into various bundles. So examples of bundles of long association fibers are uncinate fasciculus, cingulum, superior longitudinal bundle, fronto-occipital bundle, as well as inferior longitudinal bundle. Uncinate fasciculus connects motor speech area as well as orbital cortex of frontal lobe with the cortex of temporal pole by hooking around this stem of lateral sulcus. It is narrow in the middle and fanned out at its both ends. The second one is cingulum. It is also called as limbic association bundle. It is a thick bundle of fibers which occupies cingulate gyrus as well as parahippocampal gyrus. It extends from paraterminal gyrus to the uncus, thereby forming a almost circle-like girdle known as cingulum. Superior longitudinal bundle is the longest association bundle which connects frontal lobe to the occipital and temporal lobes. Fronto-occipital bundle commences at the frontal pole, runs backward, radiates into the occipital as well as temporal lobes. The front occipital bundle takes similar course to that of superior longitudinal fasciculus or bundle, but superior longitudinal bundle is somewhat superficial, whereas front occipital bundle lies in a deeper plane. The inferior longitudinal bundle connects visual association area of occipital lobe to that of temporal lobe. Commissural fiber interconnect identical or corresponding areas of two cerebral hemispheres. That's why they are also known as interhemispheric fibers. Bundles of such fibers are known as commissures. So there are 5 important commissures in the brain. The most important one is this, known as corpus callosum. Apart from this, there is anterior commissure, posterior commissure, habenular commissure and hippocampal commissure. Commissural fibers are essential for interhemispheric transfer of information for bilateral responses and learning processes. Primary visual area and hand region of primary somatosensory area of cerebral cortex have no known commissural fibers. Let us now discuss the most important commissure, that is corpus callosum. This corpus callosum is the largest commissure of brain which connects cerebral cortex of two cerebral hemispheres. Since it connects most of the part of neocortex, it attains enormous size in brain. It is about 10 cm long, which is nearly half of the anteroposterior length of the hemisphere. Corpus callosum consists of about 300 million fibers. It connects all the parts of the neocortex of two cerebral hemispheres except lower and anterior parts of the temporal lobes. These lower and anterior parts of temporal lobe are connected by anterior commissure. So we have discussed the introduction of corpus callosum. We will now learn the external features of corpus callosum. Corpus callosum forms a massive arch interhemispheric bridge which appears C-shaped in sagittal section. It lies in the floor of median longitudinal cerebral fissure and in the roof of both the lateral ventricle. It lies more near to the anterior end of cerebral hemisphere compared to the posterior end. Distance of anterior end of corpus callosum from the frontal pole is about 4 cm and distance of the posterior end of corpus callosum from the occipital pole is about 6 cm. Concave inferior aspect of corpus callosum is attached to the superior aspect of fornix by septum pellucidum, whereas over the convex superior part of corpus callosum there lies a thin layer of grey matter known as indusium gracium. Above it lies the anterior cerebral arteries, as well as superior surface of corpus callosum is also related with cingulate gyrus and callosal sulcus. Indusium gracium is a thin layer of grey matter in which lies the medial and lateral longitudinal stria. Anterior cerebral vessels are embedded in the layer of pia mater, whereas cingulate gyrus lies on the superior aspect of corpus callosum, from which it is separated by callosal sulcus. Having learned external features and relations of corpus callosum, we will now learn the parts of corpus callosum. Before backward, corpus callosum is divided into four parts: rostrum, genu means band, trunk or body, and splenium. Genu is a thick, curved anterior extremity of corpus callosum. It lies 4 cm behind the frontal pole. Genu forms anterior boundary of anterior horn of lateral ventricle. Fibers from the genu sweeps forwards in the frontal lobe to form a fiber bundle known as forceps minor. Genu extends downwards and backwards to form a thin prolongation known as rostrum. It joins the lamina terminalis. Rostrum forms the floor of anterior horn of lateral ventricle. Fibers of rostrum extend inferiorly to connect orbital surfaces of two frontal lobes. Trunk or the body is the main part of corpus callosum, which lies between genu and splenium. Trunk connects frontal lobe and anterior parts of the parietal lobe of two cerebral hemispheres. Trunk forms the roof of the central part of the lateral ventricles. Splenium is the thick, massive posterior extremity of corpus callosum, which lies 6 cm in front of the occipital pole. It overhangs pineal glands, tectum of midbrain, and thalamic pulvinars. It is also related with the choroid fissure and tila choroida of third ventricle, posterior choroidal arteries, and great cerebral vein of Galen. This splenium connects posterior parts of the parietal lobe as well as occipital and temporal lobes of two cerebral hemispheres. Fibers connecting occipital lobe sweeps backwards on either side of calcarine sulcus, forming a fork-like structure known as forceps major. Fibers of forceps major forms a swelling in the upper part of medial wall of posterior horn of lateral ventricle. That swelling is known as bulb of posterior horn. The fibers of trunk and splenium that are not intersected by corona radiata forms a thin lamina of white fibers known as tapetum. Tapetum forms roof and lateral wall of the posterior horn of lateral ventricle as well as lateral wall of the inferior horn of lateral ventricle. Having learned the introduction, external features and relations, and parts of corpus callosum, we will now learn about functions and clinical anatomy of corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is mainly responsible for interhemispheric transfer of information, which is essential for bilateral responses and learning process. However, congenital absence or surgical division of corpus callosum does not produce any change in personality or intelligence of a person. Clinical anatomy of corpus callosum we will learn under three headings. One is split brain syndrome, second is lesions of anterior part of corpus callosum, and the third one is lesions of posterior part of corpus callosum. Congenital absence or sectioning of corpus callosum leads to split brain syndrome, in which each cerebral hemisphere becomes isolated and patient responds as if he or she has two separate brains. That means if they are trained to perform a task with one hand, they will be unable to repeat the same task with the other hand. That is split brain syndrome, which is mainly due to congenital absence or surgical division of corpus callosum. Lesion of anterior part of corpus callosum results in akinetic mutism and tactile anomia. In akinetic mutism, patient is unable to move as well as he or she is unable to speak. Whereas tactile anomia means patient is unable to identify and describe any object by palpation. The third one is lesions of posterior part of corpus callosum. It leads to alexia without agraphia, means patient is unable to identify the written words or letter. However, he is able to communicate through writing. Having learned the largest commissure of brain, that is corpus callosum, let us now learn the other commissure, which are anterior commissure, posterior commissure, habenular commissure, and hippocampal commissure. Anterior commissure is a round bundle of white fibers which crosses at the level of upper part of lamina terminalis, just in front of interventricular foramen and anterior column of fornix. Anterior commissure is having a large posterior neocortical component and a smaller anterior paleocortical component. The neocortical component interconnect lower and anterior parts of two temporal lobes, whereas paleocortical component interconnect olfactory regions of two cerebral hemispheres. Posterior commissure and habenular commissure both are slender bundles of white fibers. Posterior commissure crosses the midline via inferior lamina of the stalk of pineal gland, whereas habenular commissure crosses the midline via superior lamina of the stalk of pineal gland. Posterior commissure interconnect superior colliculi, pretectal and interstitial nuclei of both the cerebral hemispheres, whereas habenular commissure interconnect habenular nuclei of both the cerebral hemispheres. Hippocampal commissure interconnects crura of fornix, thereby communicating hippocampal formation of both the cerebral hemispheres. So in this session, we have learned association fibers and commissural fibers. In the next part, we will learn about the projection fibers, which mainly constitutes corona radiata, internal capsule, fornix and fimbria.